Okay guys, so originally this video was gonna be about me ripping on horrendous Star Wars fans, Disney Star Wars fans to be exact. But I'm changing it up a little bit because something came across my desk earlier today. It is an interview and article on the Direct with the original writer for the Obi-Wan-Kenobi show. Now, this was actually supposed to be a movie, which I think a lot of us knew at the time that the plan was to make a one-off Obi-Wan film that tied in the events between 3 and 4, but now we also find out that the original plan was to make it a trilogy. I've skimmed through this article, I've read bits and pieces, and I gotta be honest with you, it just makes me so angry with Disney and Lucasfilm, especially with the decision making of Kathleen Kennedy. If you're new here and you haven't seen me talk about Kathleen Kennedy before, I will just lay it out for you simply here. She sucks astronomically and needs to be removed. So I guess a lot of the things I originally wanted to say in this video before this article came across to me, I will find a way to fit them in after reading the article, because I'm sure now I'm gonna have a lot more things I want to say on this matter, and I'm gonna have a lot of feedback. So we'll see where this video takes us. We'll see where the discussion goes. But let's read the article first and foremost. So summarizing the first two paragraphs here, Obi-Wan has of course wrapped on Disney+. It's been extremely popular amongst the fans and has broke viewership records on the streaming platform. Of course, it has been vastly successful because the name of the show is Obi-Wan-Kenobi. Obviously, everybody will want to watch that. He is the second most popular character in Star Wars of all time, and it also features Darth Vader. They also pull you in with this idea of, oh, Obi-Wan versus Vader. That's got everybody's attention. The show does not need to be good to draw in viewers, because all they need to get you on are these buzzwords, these key words: Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, fight. They've had us since the beginning. However, despite its success, a portion of the Star Wars fan base has expressed the show would have been a better story as a standalone film. And originally, that was exactly Lucasfilm's plan. I absolutely agree. I think after watching these 6 episodes, there's 2 things that should have happened. It should have been 8 to 10 episodes so it didn't feel so rushed, but also they could have condensed it into a nice 2.5 hour film, depending on the story they wanted to tell. Stephen Daldry and Hussein Amini were brought on to direct and write the film, respectively, before the project shifted into an episodic format with the launch of Disney Plus in 2019. Joby Harold was subsequently brought on to take over as head writer. Huge mistake on their part, paving the way for director Deborah Chow, eventually brought to Disney Plus. Once again, I hate to say this because I love the work she did on Mandalorian, but huge mistake. Really bad decision to make her the series director of Obi-Wan Kenobi. Now, the project's very first writer has opened up about how his plan for Obi-Wan Kenobi's story didn't just compromise of 1 theatrical feature, but 3. So this article is about to embark on a small journey where Stuart Beattie actually talks about how he penned the screenplay for Obi-Wan Episode 1, how it was supposed to be a trilogy, and how the box office performance of Solo actually changed things for Kenobi moving forward. So he says, I wrote the film that they based the show on. So yeah, I spent like a year and a half working on it. And then, when the decision was made not to make any more spin-off films after Solo came out, I left the project and went on to other things. Joby came on and took my scripts and turned it from 2 hours into 6. So I did not work with them at all. I just got credit for the episodes because it was all my stuff. Beattie also revealed that his original story pitch to Lucasfilm in 2016 involved convincing them of 3 stories for Obi-Wan Kenobi. The first of which ended up becoming the series' first season and featured the death of Reva, and the second that looked ahead to the Jedi Master's lead up to A New Hope. So when I pitched my Obi-Wan story to Lucasfilm, I said there's actually 3 stories here, because there's 3 different evolutions that the character has to make in order to go from Obi-Wan to Ben. I love this guy already. He already gets it. That sentence alone proves to me he was the right man for the job, and he had a brilliant idea of doing a trilogy, a set of films. Obi-Wan and Ben, whereas they might be the same person, they are not mentally the same person. The first one was the first movie, which was the show, which was surrender to the will of the Force. Transport your will, surrender your will, leave the kid alone. So then the second movie was thinking about where Kenobi ends up. And one of the most powerful and probably the most powerful moment in all of Obi-Wan's story is that moment where he sacrifices himself in A New Hope. Great moment, you know, makes you cry. But if you stop and think about it, it's a pretty sudden thing. To just kind of go be a fighting guy, to see Luke and go, I'm gonna die. You know, that to me, that required forethought. That required pre-acceptance that this was going to happen. So again, it's one of those universal things we struggle with, to come to terms with our own mortality. So that was the second step of the evolution for me, that Obi-Wan now has come to terms with his own mortality, somehow in a prophecy or Qui-Gon telling him, there's going to come a moment where you're going to have to sacrifice yourself for the good. And then Obi-Wan is like, what? No. I'm here to help. I can't. No. And get him to that point where Obi-Wan has accepted the idea that he's going to die, and that he's going to die willingly at a crucial moment, and you will know when that moment presents itself. So when that moment comes up in A New Hope, you understand. He's recognizing he's been on this journey already, and he's waiting for this moment. And that's how he's able to make it so easily, to do the sacrifice and die. So that to me was the second evolution, the second film, the second story. So for me, if I have anything to do with the second season of Obi-Wan, that's the character evolution that I would take him on. That to me is really interesting and, like I said, universal. The writer also revealed that both Lucasfilm and McGregor were on board with the idea. Oh, absolutely, yeah, for sure. Ewan was on board. Everyone. We were like, yeah, ready to go. And we were so excited about it too. It's a great story to tell, right? It's such a fitting character, and Ewan is just so fantastic at it. And he's the perfect age. Everything. And then, of course, just the way I would have been if I was in his situation, Beatty was devastated when he found out the project was no longer going ahead as a movie. It just was dying to be done. You know, unfortunately, it was Solo that changed the direction of the system. I like Solo, personally, but it hadn't made a lot of money. It is crazy in some ways to think about how it was directed by the best filmmakers working today. But just because it didn't hit a certain number, they just had to rethink. And again, way above my pay grade, but it certainly crushed us. Devastated, absolutely devastated. But that's the business, you know, highs and lows. I'm glad it got made. I'm glad the show got made. I'm proud of my story that got told. I'm glad my characters are all through it, and I'm glad I got credit for it. I wish they'd be able to make my movies. And then, to end this article, Beatty was also asked if he had submitted treatments for the second or third movie, and he responds, no, just the first, because they hadn't hired me to do the others yet, because I was busy working on the first one. Okay. You know, it continues to remind me how behind the times and blind and jaded Lucasfilm is, especially with Kathleen Kennedy running that shit show, and with Disney, for whatever reason, keeping every single door open and available for Kevin Feige and Marvel to use, but keeping it narrow, simple, and shallow for Star Wars. How many more times do we have to explain the reason why Solo failed? First of all, that's a movie that was stuck through a production hell. Second of all, let's be honest here. Did any of us really beg for a Han Solo prequel film? No. The fact that they were making one and it did get made, is it the end of the world? Also no. If Star Wars was hitting the mark on everything they were doing, if they were successful on every corner, yeah, make a Han Solo project, sure. But that's not something we were dying for. Number 3, the amount of directors and writers that made their way through this movie. And then all of a sudden to have Ron Howard, who is a great director, by the way, But to have him move in and take control of Han Solo when the movie was like 3/4 done, and then he had to start putting his own spin on things. Come on, that's self-explanatory. What movie ever comes out successful like that? I can't think of one that really has. Number 4, you release this movie outside of the Christmas calendar. Star Wars was doing December releases during the holidays, and all of a sudden you change your mind and release it in May? That was such a bad decision because 1, you're releasing Solo after the Episode 8 debacle. Lucasfilm lost a lot of trust in their fans because of how terrible The Last Jedi ended up being. And 2, you release that film alongside Avengers Infinity War, which at the time Infinity War has been out for a week and a half, maybe 2 weeks. And people were much rather gonna go see Avengers Infinity War, which had massive implications to the Marvel Universe, over Han Solo that only catered to a specific time range within the Star Wars universe that I once again say was not really necessary. So they sit here and look at the failure of Solo and whether or not you like that movie, because I'll be honest with you, I actually fairly enjoy that film. I think Solo and Rogue One are the 2 best Star Wars movies to have come out under the Disney banner. But regardless, you look at Solo, you look at its failure in the box office, and that makes you think, oh yeah, can't do an Obi-Wan movie. It's not going to make the money. How out of touch are they? Disney is greedy. Disney is selfish, even though they're the richest production company in Hollywood. Although they really find ridiculous ways to earn that money. I would argue that an Obi-Wan movie or a movie trilogy would have been a much better idea than the TV show. Think about it from the movie side. You have Obi-Wan-Kenobi releasing as a movie. The theaters will be packed. It will be filled up to the brim. No seats available for 3 straight weeks. Give it an A+ tier budget, just like every other Star Wars movie gets. Use a writer who's actually competent and understands the visualizations given from George Lucas, like Stuart Beattie. You have a good product that's worth telling, worth showing, and worth loving. Let's look at what we actually got. You have the Obi-Wan Kenobi name releasing straight to your TV in your own home. Okay, not as grand as exciting as a movie theater or a movie in general, but you know, it is what it is. It's cool. I get to watch it. You give us 6 awfully paced and terribly rushed episodes given to us by a writer who probably has never watched more than a half an hour of Star Wars in one sitting. And then the cherry on top of the whipped cream mountain, and that whipped cream is filled with a catalog of other issues this show suffers from. The cherry is a less than satisfactory, almost embarrassingly little amount of budget. I know which version I would like more, and I can tell you which version would have been much more appreciated by the fandom. We barely got out of that Obi-Wan Kenobi show clean. That was nearly a messy ending to the Star Wars fandom and the Star Wars canon. When you look at the show as a whole, there are clear plot points, plot armor, plot inconsistencies, directing issues, writing issues, production issues. The show is riddled with problems. And the only people on these comment sections on social media who are blindly defending this show, they are simply the people who want to ride Disney's meat and accept anything that they give them. Quantity over quality seems to be the much more preferred option with these Disney Star Wars fans. Give me everything you got so I can eat them up, even though they won't last long. They won't be memorable. They'll be filled with clear issues, but A, I still got Star Wars. I still got the name. I still got the brand. I still got the character. Who cares if you're destroying the legacy of them? Who cares if you're not making a well thought out product? Who cares if it ruins canon? At this point, who does Disney listen to? Is it going to listen to the millions of voices of people who are praising them for making Star Wars content and just simply being happy with the mediocrity they have received? Or are they gonna listen to the millions of people who bash their work and give actual feedback, even though it might be negative, and actually take into consideration, okay, there is a lot wrong with how we make Star Wars content. We need to go back to its roots. Well, of course not. Disney is way too big of a production company to care about the bad. They only care about the good. So that's why when all of these people blindly eat up everything Disney gives them on the Star Wars brand, Disney says, hey, we are doing a good job, even though there's another half of people, if not, I would argue more, who are screaming, Disney, stop. You guys tell terrible stories and you don't appreciate pre-established characters or canon. It's very dangerous, and because of that terrible mindset, I don't know if Star Wars will ever change. That article is actually very sad to me because it just goes to show how much better this story would have been if it was a movie and with a writer who actually is a fan. It's clear to me he's been a fan of Star Wars for a long time. Joby Harold was out here still asking questions on specific things that happened in Star Wars movies. I bet he was thinking he was working on Star Trek halfway through his time here. And I guess this kind of leads me into the discussion of Star Wars fans. They easily have to be the worst toxic, and I hate using toxic, guys. I hate using that word, but they have to be the worst fan base out there. Every fan base is filled with really shitty people, really shitty communities. Marvel has their bad apples. DC has their bad apples. Even Lord of the Rings, Middle-earth, they have their bad apples. I'm sure Star Trek does as well. Any other fan base out there has bad sets of communities. Star Wars has to be the worst one out there, and every single day it proceeds to get worse. If you are on the side of disliking Star Wars, you are absolutely hated. And if you are on the side of loving Star Wars, you are also absolutely hated. But the problem is there is no more discussion. There is no more lively debate, respectable debate. You cannot talk to another Star Wars fan cleanly and have the outcome of your conversation be agree to disagree, shake hands, or even a, you know what, you changed my mindset, I'm going to think of this differently now. No, it's just pure hatred. And if you don't agree with me, you can go screw yourself. People get so hurt by other people's opinions, and I see most of that coming from the Star Wars community. I don't actively use TikTok, but I do use TikTok to clip some of my videos and post them over onto that platform. And I posted a video from my Obi-Wan review where I basically talk about how the Obi-Wan-Kenobi show has very bad writing, but also uninformative writing. And the comments I was receiving on this video is so disgraceful. I literally had one guy comment on my video where he literally said, "You deserve all the hatred in the world for posting this video." Because I accurately deduced the Obi-Wan writing to being uninformative, but also because I had an opinion. I had an opinion that a Star Wars product is not as good as it should have been. It is so frustrating to have a love for Star Wars. a universe I have enjoyed since I was a 3-year-old boy, before my memories could even stay with me. And it's so annoying that you cannot voice an opinion without having the other side of Star Wars say, go F yourself. And what I will say is like the Obi-Wan show or not, there are clear, definitive problems within that production. For every good thing this show gives you, it also gives you a mountain of stupid. Making these rant videos are tiring. They really are. And I wish I didn't have to make them all the time, because if you're a regular to this channel, you know I've made a lot of rant videos about Warner Brothers, and I hate having to make rant videos about Star Wars and the fans and just how terrible this culture is. I wish I could make videos where I sit here and act like those influencers who say, this is the best product I've ever received. Star Wars and Disney are the best thing to ever hit planet Earth, and we're great everywhere we go. Everything we watch is amazing. Unfortunately, that's not the situation for me. If I don't like something, if I see something wrong with a specific product or piece of entertainment we are getting, I'm going to be honest and I'm going to tell you the truth. And as long as you are on this channel, regular or new viewer, I promise you that is how I will always be here. If I don't like something, I will say it. And if I do like something, I will say it all the same. And with my honesty comes with the promise that if I witness bad cultures within these fan bases, I will speak about them. I will be honest about it, and I will call it out, because we need more people who are out here seeing the other side of things, not just social media getting absolutely bogged down in the voices of people who will accept anything they can from greedy corporations like Disney and Lucasfilm. Well, there's my rant. That's all I got for you, and I'm sure I'll get hated on, maybe loved, who knows. It's easier to hate on the internet nowadays than it is to love. And you could argue, well, isn't that what you're doing? You're hating on Lucasfilm and Disney? And my answer to you would be no, I'm just accurately pinpointing their weaknesses and their faults that they never seem to want to change. Now it is your turn. Let me know in the comments below what you think of this situation, if you would have preferred Obi-Wan to have been a movie trilogy over a series. It already proves to me it would have worked better that way. And just let me know anything else you would like me to know in the comments below. So just like usual, that's it for this one, and I will talk to you all very soon.